everyone, and welcome to another episode of WWT Experts. My name is Matthew Coble. I'll be your host today. And today we'll be talking with WWT expert Kyle Lindsey about the Metaverse. Kyle is a principal consultant here at Worldwide Technology and is leading our efforts in the Metaverse, entertainment, and gaming space. In that role, he's creating interesting harmonies between business needs and the advanced technologies that we can bring to them. And he's doing that with some of the largest communications, media, and entertainment companies around the world, really. So if you want to talk cloud, you want to talk software development, virtualization, artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, virtual reality, Kyle's your guy. Kyle, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Matt.
Always a pleasure, sir.
It is good to see you.
Good, man. How's it to be back in St. Louis?
It's fantastic because there's a foot of snow at home, so this is that's a nice place to be.
Good choice coming here. Yeah.
Yes, good timing.
Good. Well, listen, let's jump right in. Curious to know from you, to start, what are the technologies that matter the most today for augmented reality, virtual reality, and the vision that people have for the metaverse?
Yeah, perfect. It's a great question to start with. I actually kind of like to start these conversations around definition of terms. So what is the metaverse? If you ask 10 different people what the metaverse is today, you're probably going to get 11 different answers. It consumes a lot of different topics and technologies. What we do, though, here at WWT, I really want to highlight that it fits really nicely within our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I try to look at it as just an ongoing generational evolution of the internet. We started with dial-up and moved from there to always-on broadband internet access. And then over time, we moved to being able to access the internet on our mobile phones. This really is no different. We're just layering on a new interface, a 3D experience, an immersive experience on top of what we've always done. So from a tech stand, you have all of your standard internet technologies. Mm-hmm. You have access, you have compute, you have storage, you have networking, you have software development, all of the stuff that we're all used to. What's really interesting and fun are these new technologies coming in the space of augmented reality, virtual reality, things like SLAM, simultaneous localization and mapping, ways that we can actually take this digital world and map it into our physical world. Things like volumetric capture, mocap suits, down to the physical hardware, right? The glasses, the heads-up displays, and a whole bunch of other tech that supports that entire infrastructure.
Awesome. Well, you're making me jealous, man. That sounds like fun stuff that you're getting to work with. And I know that many may think that the metaverse is really only about video gaming, entertainment, but we're interested in the metaverse for that, but lots of other things too. So tell us about kind of where do our interests lie with the metaverse?
Yeah, and once again, another great question. This actually was the genesis of what we call our MEG practice, Metaverse Entertainment and Gaming, which, Matt, you actually participate in.
That's true. I do. I love it.
Yes, we started this about 3 years ago, where a bunch of us geeks who are inclined to be gamers or pay attention to augmented reality, virtual reality, started a monthly meeting where we just compared notes. That has grown substantially. It started with, I think, probably just 5 people. I think we're up to 60 people now. And what's interesting, it's across the entire company. So we have people from my area, global service provider, media, entertainment, and gaming, but we have public sector, we have our big enterprise side, we have finance, we have IT, we've got, it really covers the entire company. And it's fun that way because each one of them are bringing up these metaverse immersive experience use cases that they're seeing within their customer base. We see it in public sector with digital twins. We see it in healthcare with digital twins, creating digital twins of human bodies. So it's really impacting all of the folks that we work with.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I love the conversations that I see in the MEG group. It's fun stuff that we talk about there, and I'm proud to be a part of that with y'all. So I get that there are a lot of good reasons for us to be involved, not just with those media entertainment companies, but really all of the clients that Worldwide serves. How are client organizations being inspired by this? Like, what are they excited about? What are you hearing from them?
Yeah, they're excited about the art of the possible. Honestly, it's one of the favorite parts of my job. I generally get brought into the conversations with the innovation teams, with the product teams, with the folks that are really looking out 24, 36, even further of what they want to bring either to market, what capabilities they want to bring. So it's a lot of blue sky ideation. It's the art of the possible. Can we add some kind of new customer experience that leverages augmented reality to our client base? How can we leverage digital twins to help optimize manufacturing, to optimize warehousing, to help us actually build theme parks? We have an interesting conversation there. So it's really a great place.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to go off script just a little bit. You've mentioned digital twins twice, and I think many in our audience will know what that is, but I want you to define that for us. What do we mean by digital twins, and what are they used for?
It's another interesting one. I find digital twins is similar to the Metaverse from a word standpoint, where you ask a bunch of people, you're going to get a lot of different answers, right? Yep. And there are varying levels of digital twin we find. Everything from creation of a 3D representation of something that exists today, say it's a car, say it's a manufacturing facility, all the way to some of the work that we're doing with our theme park partners of pre-building out a 3D model before the ground is broken to be able to actually test out queuing theory of going through a particular restaurant, lighting of any particular area of a theme park. We've worked with big colleges, universities, as they try to add that to their recruiting. So it's really across the board of these digital twins. We partner really closely with a lot of our OEMs in that space.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff. And I remember hearing some about, working with hearing conversation about one of our automotive clients about, trying to do that so they can do R&D much farther and farther down the product development life cycle before they have to build prototypes or take it into manufacturing spaces. So that's cool stuff. Well, let's talk more specifically about something I know you've been involved in, which is some hands-on work with the PGA Tour, right? And with something that's called Golf AR. So I'd love to hear about what is Golf AR? How's it work? What's it do? And then what are the extrapolations of that out to kind of other ideas that you may be thinking about working on?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to say we swing a hammer in the Metaverse. We're builders here, right? Yep. We don't just talk about this stuff. We actually build these experiences so we can show our customers, our partners, our friends, our family, right, this exciting technology. So what we were doing was we were working actually with the WWT Raceway with a couple NASCAR races and Indy Cup races. When we found out that we were going to be the title sponsor for Mayakoba with the PGA, and we thought, okay, how can we leverage this work that we're doing and build a sports fan experience, something that has never been seen, actually. So we worked with the Top Tracer team, we worked with PGA, Golf Channel, and took what you see on TV. So as the golfers will hit, you'll see that comet trail, and we took that technology and we mapped it to glasses. Cool. So we have a set of in real glasses that in real 3D space, when you're on the golf course, you can actually see the ball's trajectory. And another fun aspect of it was we added what we called the mini-me. So we actually added a small representation of the golf hole so you could see not only the trajectory of the ball on this little augmented reality golf hole, but like I said, you could see it in 3D space. Yeah. What was really fun was seeing how excited the golfers were. They really got into it. And then they got their competitive juices flowing because each one would see exactly where the guy before them hit. Huh. And so it added not only an element to the actual players, it adds a really exciting element to future visions of what it looks like to actually be on the course. And we're having these conversations with a lot of different major sports franchises.
Yeah, that's cool. And I love the idea of how that fits into the sports world, but I also think from talking with you to prepare for today that there's some implications in other markets and other industries too. So could you tell us some extrapolations of how might something like that show up in more of a kind of a business context.
It's interesting. A hot topic is gamification. You don't necessarily think of gamification in healthcare. You don't necessarily think of gamification in big manufacturing or going to a corporate headquarters. But this technology stack really opens up so many interesting new things that we could do. I find that the customers are interested in kicking the tires. I mean, what can you do to actually make going to a hospital fun, right? How can you add these little elements via technology and add to the human experience?
Yeah. That's cool, and I know that companies are, kind of both experimenting with this, as they should be, but also really starting to adopt it into their strategies too, right?
Yeah, what we're finding is a lot of, so it's a dipping the toes, but it's even a little bit further than that. We've seen a lot of acceleration just within the last, probably call it a year, where they're taking it to a little bit of a next level. What I have found is they're not doing it in a big splashy way yet. They're trying to use it behind the scenes. So a good example is a hospitality customer of ours really would like to use augmented reality from a very customer-facing experience. But they know that if it breaks, there's a big blast radius for that. And they don't want to get a black eye. They don't want to be like the failure of the metaverse, right?
Right.
So they're saying, okay, how can we use that technology? How can we use augmented reality and all of the pieces of that stack and just use it for some employee training, internal work? That way it gets them trained up, it gets them experience. They figure out the kinks in their networks and what they're building. So I've seen a lot of that of late.
Yeah. Well, look, I know that, we're talking about, how this applies to a broad set of industries and different customer organizations we have. But I also know that you're doing some stuff that's pretty cool with specifically media and entertainment companies. Can you tell us about any of that?
I was going to say, there's definitely things I cannot talk about. We're working on, so I will say, there are things I cannot talk about. However, I would like for everybody to take away from this, worldwide technology is taking a very leading role in the build out of the metaverse and what it looks like. Stuff hopefully we'll be able to talk about.
Dude, it's like a cliffhanger you're dropping.
I know it
there.
is.
I love
it is. But we're taking it, our teams are taking a very active role in what it will become. Once again, nobody's defined the metaverse, it's still a very, very mushy term. But we kind of have an idea of 3D game engines, some form of flavor of immersive from an AR, VR. We kind of know where a persistence to it. We know where these things are going. So we're doing a lot of work there. We do a lot of really exciting stuff, like you said, around the digital twins. Yeah. I mean, with theme parks. People might know that, might not know that if you ride a roller coaster at a major theme park in the United States, you're probably riding on something that we built. And then through those relationships, we're helping them to use digital twin technology to figure out what their next new parks look like. We have a really fun space that we work with in esports. I get to go to massive 60,000 people esports venues a couple times a year. We're working with broadcast graphics, Unreal Engine, how do we leverage all of this stuff? We do a lot of work with the major gaming companies, kind of with our bread and butter work, so data centers and security, application development. It's really across the board within our media, entertainment, and gaming group.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people just assume that it's all about the, 3D engines and sort of the visual design stuff that you see, but there's a lot of complex tech under the seams that has to work for that stuff to all work properly, and at often a bigger scale than in other business contexts, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, look, I know a lot of your work in this space is also with telecommunications companies, cable companies that are part of our global service provider practice. And those are the organizations that are really delivering all the bandwidth we need for these capabilities, and a lot more than that. So I'm curious, how's the metaverse and sort of the vision of that affecting the plans of telecommunications companies and other service providers?
Yeah, it's kind of common knowledge that as we start building out these immersive experiences, spatial compute, all of this, the tolerances get smaller and smaller, right? What we were able to put up with good old-fashioned TCP, UDP for a simple web page is not going to work for a massively multiplayer online experience. It's not going to work for virtual reality, augmented reality. So, just given the fact that the tolerances are getting tighter, our service provider partners are really looking into what technologies can they leverage as they start looking out. So we look at stuff like with our cable partners, low latency DOCSIS has been a big topic of late. L4S, the low latency, low loss, that's been a big deal. The big ones, everybody talks about 5G, massive. We've got a huge practice around 5G, a big team working on it, just fantastic, brilliant engineers. One of our blueprints is Edge in a Box. We actually leverage Edge in a Box for the work that we do at the golf course and at the racetrack of how do we get real high quality wireless connectivity to support these experiences. So the team has built out an Edge in a Box blueprint that's tied to our Converged Edge platform. So there's a lot of work going on there that are directly tied to our service providers.
Yeah, because if that bandwidth is not there, and the kind of computing that's needed out on the boundaries and the wireless network, if it's not there, it's not going to work, right?
No, it doesn't work. That is fundamental.
Yeah, well, I love that we're playing a core role in sort of helping design and deploy that infrastructure that's really going to power all the experiences that we're going to enjoy going forward. Well, all right, so if we think about our clients across lots of industries, though, like a lot of organizations will need to do things with their infrastructures to make sure they're ready for where all this is going. So what are some other things that you're guiding clients and customers across lots of industries around to think about in terms of their infrastructures to be ready to go?
So it's a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, right? It's being prepared. It's exploring these new low latency technologies, the Wi-Fi 6s, 6Es, obviously the 5G from a network, L4S. So it's understanding kind of what technologies are going to be able to enable these experiences. And then it's interesting, a lot of talk around governance and cultures, and because it's really, the requirements are changed. It was less when we did dial-up. It was less when we did broadband, right? Yep. Once we have a headset on, it's very low tolerance for packet loss, for latency, for jitter. So what does that look like? So you get into DevOps concepts, DevSecOps, security wrappers around it. A lot of our customers are realizing that this kind of next iteration of the internet is just going to be that much more complex for them to support.
Well, and I want to build on that a little bit because I think that there are implications as well for workforce, right? And the kinds of talent you need to build out, not only the infrastructures, but the experiences and so forth. So I'm curious if you've been guiding any of our clients and customers around, what they need to be thinking about in terms of the kinds of people to hire, the kinds of training to offer, or if there's somebody listening in who's wanting to kind of play a role in this space, what do they need to learn, what do they need to do, and how's that evolution going to unfold?
So as a dad of 3 boys, 2 in college, 1 about to go to college, I am very passionate about that pipeline from school through college to tech. Yeah. We need more. We need more smart people. So, and what's fun and interesting now is when I got into this, there wasn't a direct connection fundamentally from a video game to building out a corporate network, right? They were completely different opposite ends of the universe. Yep. That has gotten very small now. So with these technologies, the leap from playing a video game to understanding how Unity or Unreal work to actually building out some technology within a service provider, a big enterprise, there's a very tight connection there. So I think there's a lot that we can do leveraging that, the work we do around esports, to really kind of encourage this next generation that this is a fun career. It's a great space.
Yeah, it is a great space. And so you're telling me, like, if my kids are good at Minecraft and Fortnite, that, they could probably find a gig, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good deal. Well, listen, I always love to end our sessions with our experts with a look towards the future. So, super exciting, rapidly evolving space, the metaverse. There's going to be a lot of change. As you look ahead to the future, like how are we going to be delivering the unexpected for people? Like what new exciting things do you think we'll see?
Wow, it's
a lot.
I was going to say it really is mind-boggling. When we go into these meetings, it is literally dream it and we'll make it. Mm-hmm. So that's where it's fun. It's digital. It's art. It's animation. It's creativity.
Yeah.
So dream it and we can make it. But what that means is it's really hard because you're starting from
from scratch, right?
Giant thing. So we talk about baby steps. We talk about kind of crawl, walk, run, kind of take some of your use cases, whether you're a hospital, a theme park, a video game company, or a large enterprise. I would say though, embrace it. It's coming. None of us can imagine going back to dial-up, right?
Yep. Nope.
So this is coming, and I like to say we live in a 3D world. The only reason we interact with devices on 2D is just it's a limit of technology, and that limit's going away quickly. So that technology is adding quick. So I would embrace the metaverse, whatever the metaverse ends up being, but it's the right time, and we're early. It's still we got some runway before I think we're all living in a virtual environment, if ever. But let's figure out how to use it today.
That's cool. Yeah, well, I love to think about that, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, we're going to be excited about some stuff that doesn't even exist yet.
Doesn't
probably
exist
you and WWT will have played a role in creating some of that stuff.
Yes.
So that's super exciting. Well, Kyle, thanks for being with us here today. Always a pleasure to see you.
It's great to see you in the real world.
I know.
I appreciate this, man.
I love it. Good. Well, listen, thank you for joining us today for this session of WWT Experts. We've got more great events coming up and plenty more in the back catalog, so head out to wwt.com/events. Sign up, join us in the future, look at the stuff in the archives, and I appreciate you joining us today. We'll see you next time. Thanks for coming.